When you run HTML code in browser, it has some default styles, which might look in slightly different ways in different browsers. One of our goals as developers is to maintain the same looking styles in all browsers. So when we use Bootstrap, it includes reboot styles, which actually using only HTML element selectors makes the web page looking nicer and the same in all browsers. So reboot makes styles consistent across different browsers and platforms. So as we said, HTML elements have their default styles, and in practice we use CSS code to style and design them. When you use only those two technologies, I mean HTML and CSS, then you have to do a lot of things. You have to struggle much and spend a lot of time in order to achieve needed result. And that's the moment when the Bootstrap comes to play. Using Bootstrap, you can place the elements on the page wherever you want in a very simple and easy way. And after that, using your own CSS style, you can make some corrections and style elements to look them in different and better way. Using this approach, you can avoid worrying about how your web page is looking in different browsers, and also you will spend much less time to achieve wanted result. Alright, let's go to our code editor and see what I'm talking about. At first, I'm going to create heading element. Let's write here hello world. And also a little paragraph with some dummy text. Emmet extension has nice feature to get lorem ipsum dummy text. We just need to write lorem and then needed amount of words, let's say 10. As you remember, I'm using live server, so when I save the file, then the page is reloaded automatically. So here we have our heading and paragraph, and those elements already have some styles using Bootstrap. If we comment Bootstrap link out, then we will get default browser styles, which actually looks really ugly. Alright, let's get the link back. So as for the font type, Bootstrap 4 uses Helvetica font family, and also font size is a little bit larger than it's in case of browser default styles. Let's discuss some basic Bootstrap typography classes, but before we do that, I'm going to go to Bootstrap website. In documentation section, we have content part, in which you can find typography. Actually, it's a great source. You can find here all the classes and introduce to them. I'm not going to describe all of these classes in details because I think that it will be a little bit boring and not really interesting. I will just show you some commonly used classes. At first, I'm going to start with headings. So let's copy those headings from here and paste them in editor. If we save them, then we'll get all those 6 headings. And you can see that they are displayed in different ways because of Bootstrap. As we have already mentioned, those headings are a bit larger than the default heading styles. Bootstrap 4 uses rems as measurement units. Generally, 1 rem equals to 16 pixels, because for HTML element, 16 pixels is a default font size. But if we change manually the font size of HTML element, let's open style tags and change the font size of HTML, right here 30 pixels, then all those heading elements will be changed accordingly. Because in this particular case, 1 rem became equal to 30 pixels and not 16 pixels. You may wonder, why does Bootstrap 4 use rems instead of any other measurement unit? One of the main reasons to be noted is that users are able to change the font size of web page from browser settings. So if we go to settings and change default size as, for example, very large, you see that headings didn't change their font size. That's because we have already set font size of HTML element in pixels manually. So if we change 30 pixels into, for example, 2 rems, then the heading will become very large. And that's actually one of the advantages of using rems. Alright, let's go back to settings and change the font size again. Also, delete those styles. So instead of using HTML heading tags, we can transform any text into heading. It doesn't matter if it's heading or paragraph or any other element. And we can do it using heading classes. Let's go to Bootstrap website. You can find here heading classes. So let's copy them and paste. Also, I'm going to make here horizontal line to distinguish better those codes. So you see that using paragraph and heading classes, we can get exactly the same result. We can use those classes with heading elements. For example, if we assign to heading 1 class name as h5, then the heading will get the same size as h5 heading element has. So in some cases, using those heading classes may be very useful. Alright, let's go ahead. If you want to make the text looking like subheading, you can use the HTML element called small. So let's open small text in h2 heading element with some text here. Let's save it, and you see that we have here kind of lighter secondary text. It's styled according to its parent h2 heading element. Besides that, we can avoid using small text, and instead of it, use Bootstrap class small. Let's do it for heading element. Open here span element with class name small. Then again write some text. So you see that we have here almost the same result. But now for h3 heading element. And we have achieved it using Bootstrap class small. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about display classes. When you want your text to stand out, then you can use display classes. Let's take a look on Bootstrap website again. We have 4 types of display classes: display 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's copy it again and paste. So you see that those headings is much larger, and also in my opinion they look more modern and nicer. You're able to use display classes with headings, paragraphs, and any other elements, but actually it's recommended to use them with heading elements. Also, you have to note one thing regarding display classes. It doesn't matter if you assign those class names to h1 or h2 or any other level of heading, they will look in the same way. Alright, let's go ahead and create heading, write hello world, and paragraph with some dummy text. So we have here heading and paragraph on the page. In order to stand out those elements, we can use display 1 class for h1 heading element, and for paragraph we can use class called lead. So you see that both of them are looking in different and much better way. Alright, let's take a look once again on documentation. So again, I'm not going to go through each of these classes and elements because we will use lots of them throughout the projects, but I recommend you to read this article and introduce to each of these classes. Before we finish this lecture, I'm going to talk about list elements, so let's copy them and paste in editor. Also, get rid of this class name. If we save it, then we will get default list styles here with bullets. Let's get back class name list unstyled and also assign it to the nested UL element here. This Bootstrap class removes all the default styles of list elements, so if we save it, we will get list elements without bullets. Okay, let's delete some of these list items. We just need several of them. Besides list unstyled class, we have list inline class, which actually makes those elements inline. In order to do that, we have to assign to UL element class name list inline, and then for each list item, we need class name called list inline item. So you see that list items are displayed as inline elements. I mean, they are placed on one line. Alright, that's it for basic typography. It's pretty much simple. Again, I recommend you to go through all the typography classes, and also I recommend to do that on Bootstrap website because they're represented all the classes from the latest Bootstrap version. Okay, let's move on.